Beautiful.
Welcome everybody, thank you so much for being here with me. For those that came because we wanted to spend time with Shlomo, thank you so much. For those who do not know me yet, my name is Shlomo Lipman. I am 37 years old from Israel, married to Batsheva, and father to Elichai and Eli. I'm a singer in my regular life in Israel, but over the past year, I've been a reserve soldier from Golani. And just recently, I was stationed in Lebanon, and I got out 2.5 weeks ago. And I was here for a Shabbat, and I said, you know, I'm here, I want to connect with people. Last second, I think it was the middle of last week, which is, I mean, you never put together any show in that short notice, but I wanted to connect together with you guys, so I put the show together. So thanks for being here with me. We good? Let's see on. All right. So we'll get to all the stories from Lebanon. Let's turn down the echo a little bit. A1, perfect. But first, you know, I mean, these videos rather, have been scarce lately, thank God. But at the beginning of the war, there were stories, videos going around non-stop of soldiers coming home to their families. And there was always one specific song that was playing in the background. And Kol Yisrael Achim, we're all one big family. So now this is like me coming home to you guys. So let's sing it together.
גם בשעות החשוכות של הלילה תמיד יהיה כוכב קטן שיעיר לך את עצמך, את הדרך הביתה. תמיד זה הכי חשוך לפני הזריחה. מיליון רכבות דוהרות עד אוסטרליה, מחפש רחוק את מה שנמצא לך מתחת לאף. כל מכשול זה מדליה, קם ונופל אבל בדרך שלך. המשפחה, החברים, אולי לצאת לבילויים, שיחות ארוכות, שיחות של הנפש בלילה. להתמודד עם הקשיים, ההרגלים הישנים, הנפש היא מלחמה עם הקרמה. עוד יבואו ימים טובים, אני מבטיח. עוד יבואו ימים טובים. גם בשעות החשוכות של הלילה תמיד יהיה כוכב קטן שיעיר לך את עצמך, את הדרך הביתה. תמיד זה הכי חשוך לפני הזריחה. מיליון רכבות דוהרות עד אוסטרליה, מחפש רחוק את מה שנמצא לך מתחת לאף. כל מכשול זה מדליה, קם ונופל אבל בדרך שלך. הדרך שלך, גם בשעות החשוכות של הלילה, תמיד יהיה כוכב קטן שיעיר לך את עצמך, את הדרך הביתה, תמיד זה הכי חשוך לפני הסריחה. מיליון רכבות תוארות עד אוסטרליה, נחפש רחוק את מה שנמצא לך מתחת לאף, כל מכשול זה מדליה, קם ונופל אבל בדרך שלך.
Thank you so much. So, I was thinking about it, and for me, the stories that I want to tell right away are from the past few months, but I realized that most, if not all of you, haven't heard any of the stories since the very beginning of the war. So I think it makes sense to go all the way back to the beginning. First of all, how did I get here? I was, on the 7th of October, I was a young singer. I had been in the industry for a little over a year, and my entire life I knew I wanted to be a singer, but it takes time until that actually happens. I went to yeshiva, then I went to army, back to yeshiva, met my wife, and then when I was 25, I just started to go for it and actually start my career. I released my debut single called Kanitcha, which I'll play momentarily. And I started, just trying to make it. I started doing small events. I would do, engagement parties, and I did like the bar bat mitzvah as a one-man band. And I think out over time, I joined a wedding band, and they're my band until today. And they toured the world with me. We were in Miami last year together. We were in Toronto. Hopefully, we'll bring them to New York as well. And then October, the 7th of October hit. I was supposed to perform that night, the night of in Israel, Simchat Torah, Shmini Atzeret is only one day. So that night, there's a big event, Hakafot Shniyot, kind of just continuing, like Simchat Torah is over, but let's dance again with the Torah, this time with the band, with the entire performance. I was supposed to perform that night in Herzliya. And then the 7th of October hits, I get called up. I was praying, I was davening in a Hesder yeshiva for lone soldiers that I had been very involved in for the past 2 years. So the entire morning I was dealing with these soldiers that were getting called up, and I was running back and forth in my suit with my talit. Where do you need to go? You need to go to Beersheba? Okay, I'll drive you, but let me know if you get a ride. You got a ride? Okay, great. Thank God they all got rides, because around half an hour later, I got called up. We were told that as a reservist, we were told to be on standby. It seems like they're going to call us up soon. Just get your bags ready and get ready to go. So, I told my wife, look, there's a chance I might get called up. You go to your parents. We're supposed to eat by them anyways. Go to your parents. I'm going to go back to shul for a little bit. I have my phone with me now. And if I get called up, I'll stop by. I'll stop by, my in-laws. I'll stop by your parents first to make sure they say goodbye to you before I go up. Went back to shul, and we were davening, and every once in a while I would just pull out my phone, which was very weird to just be on my phone in synagogue on Simchat Torah. But look, and then after like half an hour, I saw Chevle Ukpatznu Tzav Shmone. Tzav Shmone is when the reservists are called up. The 8 draft. I don't know why it's 8, but it's 8. So then they called us up. So I went home, got onto my uniform, got my bag, got into the car, and drove to my in-laws. Knocked on the door, and they opened the door, and my wife sees me on full uniform and says, "No." I was like, yeah, that's what has to be done. We're going to go up. It's going to be okay. I made kiddush, made hamotzi, and then my mother-in-law gave me like a container with food. We lived they live in a very, very religious community, ultra Orthodox there as well. And I get into my car, and everyone sees me and everyone understands what's going on. Like, no one's like, "Who's this guy driving here?" Everyone understands what's going on, and made my way up north. We get up north by October 7th at night. We were by the border already, ready to defend. Later on, we found through intelligence indications that there actually was supposed to be an attack that night by Hezbollah. Thank God it never happened, which I'll get to in a minute. When we actually, this is all but one big story. Let's say it right away. 2 months ago, the first time we went into Lebanon, it was to a place called Kfar Kila. Kfar Kila is right outside Metula, and when I mean right outside Metula, I mean if I'm where the fence is, the first house is where you guys are sitting. Like that's how close it is to the border. When we went in, first of all, we knew Kfar Kila is a terrorist powerhouse. That's a place that's supposed to be a very dangerous place. For some reason, when we went in, I was not scared. I don't know why I wasn't scared. It could be because I was incredibly, because of God. It could be because I got out all the jitters at the beginning of the war, when every single night for the first month it was high alert. What's going to happen? Incredible fear. And then in the morning we all joked about how scared we were during the night. Could be because of that. But we went in, and first of all, Nisen Yisim, absolute miracles that the place was vacant. We went in and there were no terrorists there. We knew that beforehand. There's like guys. There's still some terrorists in the area. We know that they're sending out radio calls to Hezbollah headquarters saying that they don't have food. They don't have food anymore. They don't have water. They're in distress, and they're not getting any response. So we knew there were some in the area, but some is very different than what we were preparing. At the beginning of the war, we were prepared for Hezbollah, for a full army that's been fighting in a civil war for years. They're seasoned veteran soldiers, and now we have to go up against them. We talked about it all the time at the beginning of the war. We were waiting to go in, and we knew we weren't going to go in until we were done with Gaza. But we were going to say, we talked amongst ourselves, how is the state of Israel going to deal with this? We've just finished not finished, but we've taken care for the most part of Gaza and Hamas, and now they're going to have to go and fight against Hezbollah, and it's going to be a much harder war with a lot more casualties. How is the state of Israel going to be able to emotionally deal with this? And unbelievable, Nasrallah was killed, and they all ran away. They just retreated completely towards Beirut area. We went into Kfar Kila after it had been bombed, extensively. We went into houses that no one had been in before, and it was completely vacated. At the beginning, you're going to a house of a family, and you're like, this is weird. There's children's socks. There's toys over here. You find a toy gun, and then in the next drawer you find actual weapons, and you realize, oh, okay, this isn't just some family. These are people that are, either terrorists or terrorist sympathizers in a house. You see all this stuff, and then there's a picture of Nasrallah, and there's a picture of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and you understand who you're dealing with. But thank God we went in, and it was completely vacant. We found incredible amounts of ammunition and weapons in Kfar Kila. We found it other places as well, but Kfar Kila was the one place we found the amount that would have been enough for a full battalion, and not just stored away, but in go bags, ready to go. Just tell us when, and we're going to invade Israel. And the commander of my battalion says he thinks, based on his estimation, that we would have had to defend in Tel Aviv area from all the way up north had they invaded. It would have been significantly worse. Chasdei Hashem, absolute miracles. They did not invade, but the first nights we were ready for that, and absolutely terrifying the first few nights. And then morning come. The first days were also scared, but scary. But the nights were definitely incredibly terrifying. And I kind of retreated from Shlomo Lipman, the singer. It was I'm not gonna post at all. It felt weird saying hey guys, I'm by Lebanon border, blah blah blah. I felt I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna stay focused, and we're gonna do this. When we go home in 2.5, 3 weeks, however long it's gonna be, that's the mindset that is. In 3 weeks, okay, we'll go home, we'll figure it out. Then I'll talk about all right, it was up there, and now we're going back to regular life. And after a few days, my friends started saying, "Yalla, Shlomo, tatchil lashir lanu k'tzat. Can you sing for us a little bit? Let's get the morale up a little bit." I was like, "No, guys, it's not the time for that. No, not right now. Maybe later." "No, please, fine." After a little bit, started singing a little bit. During that day, I had seen that guys in my band were playing these small weddings for brides and grooms that their wedding got canceled because of the situation. So they had these small weddings, and they were playing for them. And I kind of, first of all, wanted to let them know what's going on with me. I hadn't been in touch with them, but also wanted to connect to them a little bit. So I sent them a video of me sitting in this little trench by the Lebanon border, singing Me'era Me'era Hashem Elokeinu, Me'era Me'era Hashem Elokeinu, O Nishama Be'arei Yehuda. Regular wedding song. And I sent it to them on our group WhatsApp. That's all that happened. My sound man, thank God that we have a sound man that's our sound man, and not just someone we use all. We have our guy because he's on the WhatsApp group together with us, and he posted on a status just willy nilly, and someone reaches out to him and says, "Please send me that video." He sends it to her, and then from there, this video gets out to everywhere. All of a sudden, people start getting bombarded texts. Is this you? Is this you? Is this you? Is this you? It was on very big pages on Instagram, and slowly people started finding out, who's this Chayal? Who's this guy who's sitting in the ditch? Oh, Shlomo Lipman. Who's it? So, going from working on an Instagram page for 4 years to get to 1,000 followers, like right before a week before the war, I got 1,000 followers. Within the next few days, I had another like 3,000 more. And you see that it's a big lesson in when it comes to just social media in general, how to work right and figure out what works. Not that I am definitely not an expert at social media. I've gotten pretty good at being able to report what I do, but definitely when it comes to social media as a guide, I'm not a social media personality. I'm a singer, but I guess you by default you are a personality, I guess. But yeah, so I started getting bombarded, and it happened. So all of a sudden there was this little this mini wave of this Chayal, this singer Shlomo Lipman. The next day, just understand what happened with us. We went up to the Lebanon border without even lining up. Usually, when you go on deployment, you get your gun, you go to the shooting range, and first of all, you get the rust off, you get back into it by shooting. But also, the most important thing is to line up your scope with your gun. Make sure that what you're shooting at is actually what you're going to hit. We didn't do that. We just got our guns and go to the border, and hopefully you hit close to where you're aiming at. So after 3-4 days, or however long, maybe a week, I don't remember how long it was, we kind of understood the situation a little bit more, and they slowly started sending companies from our platoon to go to a makeshift shooting range they made right outside of Moshav Dishon, a Moshav by the very corner of the Galil where we were stationed, to go and align their scopes. We're on the way back, and we see that there is some sort of event happening in the shul in this Moshav. I'm like, there's no one here, all the civilians are evacuated. What's going on? Why is there an event happening here? So I went over to this girl that's carrying a box, and I said, what's happening here? She says, there's a wedding. I said, a wedding for who? She says, for a Chayal. There was a nearby unit called Alexandroni. They've become very famous now. They are one of the top reservist units from Golani. My unit is called 134, also a reservist unit from Golani. And they decided, we were supposed to get married in this day. I think it was, October 12th, I think it was. And we're not going to push off our wedding. We're going to get married right here. And I said to her, I'm a wedding singer. If they would want, I would love to sing for them. And they said, oh my gosh, that's great. Yeah, let's do it. Awesome. So I sang Imesh Kachech at their wedding, a song that we'll hopefully get to as well. We have to see how long I talk for. That's when you have a year of stories, you can talk for a while. And then I just sent it. I took this video and I sent it to one of the Instagram pages that have been in touch with me over the past day, called Living L'Chaim, and they posted it. There were other people that posted it. There was a bunch of people there. There are a few different angles of this song. Altogether, all the different angles across all of social media have a little over 5 million views. And this was kind of like when the world, the broader Jewish world, was exposed to Shlomo Lipman for the first time. And I realized something very, very quickly. At the beginning, I was like, no, I just want to be a Chayal. I realized that aside from defending physically, I have another role to play, which is to bring up the ruach a little bit, to bring some light, to bring some hope. This is during the days where the only things on social media were just reruns of October 7th and the horrible videos. And this was the first thing that was being posted of wow, Am Yisrael Chai, for real, this is unbelievable. That there's a wedding happening and there's a Chayal singing. And I thought about it a lot over the next few days. There's a very well-known singer in Israel named Akiva, who was also called up on October 7th. And I thought of it. I was like, if he had performed, or if he had sang, then it might have been meaningful. Wow, Akiva's in the army now, but it wouldn't have hit the same as when an unknown Chayal, there's no face, But just a chayal is singing in Meshkahech. It hits very differently when there's no name. If people had known who Shlomo Lipman was beforehand, I wasn't a better singer now than I was 3 days earlier. I wasn't doing anything differently. It just happened to be that God has said, I'm gonna save you for a rainy day. There's gonna be a time where people are gonna need some light from somewhere, and they're gonna need it from an anonymous source, from a place of that you're not a name, you're not anything. You're just a chayal. You're just a soldier, and that's gonna bring people light, and that's gonna bring people hope. So ever since, beforehand I had been in the States to perform one time at a wedding. Ever since then, thank God, Baruch Hashem, I've been performing. I've been coming to the States a lot and performing in New York. I performed last year. Who was at the Brandeis show last year? You guys were. You guys, the Schlesingers. By the way, a good time to be able to say thank you to the Schlesinger family, to Drew and Daisy and their kids for pushing me to put this together. I was like in touch with Drew before I came to the States. I was like, I don't know, maybe because what happened is this. I was supposed to go back right after the Shabbat that I had in West Hempstead, and there were no flights. Everything was booked. So I'm on the waiting list until Tuesday. On Tuesday, I have a flight back. So I was kind of like, because I had been in Miluim for so long, I wanted to get home as soon as possible. So I wasn't thinking about putting anything together. But after, fine, I was waiting a few weeks. It was already a week before. I was like, fine, if I'm still on the waiting list, I'm probably still going to be on the waiting list. I'm going to be in the States. Let's put together a show. And he pushed me to do it, so thank you so much. Because of that, we're here everyone together, so I appreciate that. So ever since then, I've been coming to the States. I've been performing here and trying to connect all of Am Yisrael together. So it's an honor to be here together with you guys. And let's sing some songs together. Let's connect. Around 5 months ago, it's crazy how time flies by. It feels like during Miluim, that entire time is like 2 days, and then you go back and you're like, wait a minute, like time passed? I had a baby a month and a half before going to Miluim. Her name is Neely. She's 4 months old now. And it's amazing to be home with her, be home with El Chai, my 3-year-old, and my wife Batsheva. But so around 5 months ago in July, before Neely was born, I was in Toronto performing there for the UJA. And they asked me to sing a song that I'd never heard before. But it became so meaningful to me. The song is called Bring You Home. So for a minute, I want to connect with you guys and think of our brothers and sisters that still aren't at home. Nightmares, afraid of sleeping, voices, I hear them all. Please know, and I've been thinking about you all along. Your face on every poster, street walls around the world. I hope they see you where you don't belong. All I'm fighting for is to bring you home, bring you home. The only song to go into from that is this. This is the response prayer.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it will all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and the children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. It's not about win or lose, 'cause we all lose when it feeds on the souls of the innocent. Bloodstained pavement, keep on losing though the wars stay raging. In this maze you can lose your way, your way. It might drive you crazy, but don't let it phase you, no way, no way. Sometimes my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and the children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. One day this all will change, treat people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom like why yo, why yo yo yo, why yo, why yo yo yo. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and the children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Sing with me, guys. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day.
Thank you all so much. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהכל יהיה בדברו. Oh, amazing. All right. So let's move forward in time. You know, over the past few weeks, after we got out of Lebanon, Chazdei Hashem, it's unbelievable seeing all these miracles in front of your eyes. The fact that we're in Syria now. In the middle of last year, I was stationed for a month. I was stationed by the Syrian border, and we were talking about this on our group WhatsApp, on our on the WhatsApp group of my unit. While we were stationed there, we never could have believed, imagined. It was in our wildest dreams that we'd ever see troops in areas that we saw in our own eyes. There's no way that we're ever going to be there anytime soon. And now we have it. You know, we would wake up every single morning, the most beautiful, beautiful view of the Hermon, and you see the beautiful plains of the Golan on your left, the barrier, the fence, the security fence in the middle, and then Syria on the right, and far in the distance, right in front of us, was the Hermon, both the Israeli side and the Syrian side. And from there, you're able to see the difference. I mean, like the difference is from there it looks like this, but like from miles and miles away, that's a massive difference. And the fact that we have the Syrian Hermon now, it's unbelievable. We couldn't have even fathomed it. A little bit of a fun story, but something that you never, when you think of defending the state of Israel, you definitely don't think of this following story when you're thinking about security. We had a mission while we were stationed there to go, so the security fence is inside Israel's territory, and then there's a few hundred meters of land that belongs to the state of Israel, and then the actual border is marked off by a line of barrels. It's called Kav Chaviyot. There's just barrels all along, and that's the actual border. And they know that they're not supposed to go past that border. Every once in a while, you get a shepherd that really is oblivious and doesn't know and crosses in, and we push it back. But most of these shepherds that we see were Hezbollah terrorists disguised as shepherds with a big flock of sheep, either to try to push that, see when we'll react, if they're able to push a little bit further, if we're gonna respond or not, or to try to collect intelligence. So a lot of what we had to do there was just make sure that these flocks of sheep wouldn't pass the actual border. And there was one Shabbat that we got a mission. There was like this little hut that they had built there for the shepherds in Israeli territory, on the other side of the fence, but in Israeli territory. So we had to go there and knock it down. First of all, make sure that it was clear, that it was safe, it wasn't booby trapped or anything, and knock it down to make sure that we're able to see the entire area. On the way, so we did that. It was definitely an experience at that time. It was the first time that we had gone to the other side of a security fence. We had not been in Lebanon yet, and we weren't in Gaza. We were by the Lebanon border the entire time at the beginning of the war. So we took care of that. Definitely interesting to see people watching us in the distance. We saw UN people watching us. We saw other people, and you're high alert, but it really feels like you're finally doing something. You see people, and you're making sure there's no snipers around and anything like that. And then on the way back, first of all, just understand how crazy it was for us that they're in Syria now. So because there's the barrel, and we were walking on the line of the barrels, and for the heck of it, to be able to say we were in Syria, so Israel is on the right of the barrel and Syria's on the left, so we went right around the barrel to the left, and they were able to say I was in Syria. And now look where we're at now. So on the way back, there was a massive flock of sheep and goats that were moving towards the border. And my officer was like, you know what, we're going to teach them a lesson. We want to leman yiru v'yirau, make sure that people know, don't mess with us. Keep your goats on the side of the border. Don't pass it. So for security reasons, we stole a goat. We got a goat. I had my gun hooked up to my vest, so I had my strap with me in my pocket. They were trying to pick it up, they weren't able to do it, so we took my gun strap, tied it around its neck, and brought it back across the security fence into our vehicle and brought it back. And the funniest thing is, as an observant Jew, this was on Shabbat, and one of the things you're not allowed to do on Shabbat is trap animals. And usually, when you're in yeshiva or something, there's always a smart aleck in the class that says, "Rabbi, when is this ever going to happen? When am I ever going to trap a sheep on Shabbat?" So here you go, you're trapping a sheep on Shabbat, something that would be asul, something that would not be allowed to do, transgressing Shabbat on a regular basis. But now, for security reasons, this is really for the safety of the land of Israel, so that Hezbollah terrorists do not pass disguised as shepherds. We trapped a goat and stole a goat on Shabbat and brought it back into Israel. So definitely a funny story about the things that you wouldn't think that you were going to do while defending the state of Israel. But while we were up there, I had a few moments alone in the shul there. There was a beautiful shul on our base, this tiny little caravan that inside was very nice with seats and everything. And I started thinking of the song. So the song's in Hebrew. It's a song that it's going to be on my debut album that I'm working on now. B'ezrat Hashem, with God's help, it's going to be out by the summer. It is called Kama Tov, How Good. And it's about the fact that even though we're going through craziness right now, it looks insane. But you'll see you'll see that one day all this is going to be good. So this is Kama Tov for my upcoming album.
איזו תקופה מוזרה, אנחנו חיים בעד מתי בחיי. רוצה להתקרב, לישון, להתעורר ממקום אחר ורק לוותר. היי 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 אבל למרות הכל everything's gonna be okay. ואני כל יום אומר כמה טוב, כמה טוב, כמה טוב הולך להיות פה. כמה טוב, כמה טוב, אתה תראה. כמה טוב, כמה טוב, כמה טוב הולך להיות פה. כמה טוב, אתה תראה. אתה תראה, כמה טוב. אתה תראה, אני כל יום אומר. שערה בתוך הנשמה נמצאת גם אצלי וגם אצל האומה. אויב בחוץ, שטן מבפנים מנסים להספיד אותי, אלה החיים. אבל למרות הכל everything's gonna be okay. ואני כל יום אומר כמה טוב, כמה טוב, כמה טוב הולך להיות פה. כמה טוב, כמה טוב, אתה תראה. כמה טוב, כמה טוב, כמה טוב הולך להיות פה. כמה טוב, אתה תראה. I need you guys help. Hey, 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 כמה טוב, hey, 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 continue. כמה טוב, כמה טוב, כמה טוב הולך להיות פה. כמה טוב, אתה תראה. אתה תראה.
First time that's being performed acoustically. It's obviously a pop song, but it sounds beautiful acoustically as well. You know, it's Hanukkah this week, and thank God, even though the flights were delayed, I'm going to be home for Hanukkah with my family. Thank God. That was a must to make this trip happen. And in Ma'oz Tzur Yeshuati, which everybody knows, the last part of that song, the words are Chasof Zeroa Kochecha Bekarev Ketz HaYeshua Nikom Nikmat Dam Avadecha Neuma Al-Shah Ki Al Chalanu HaYeshua Ve'en Ketz Liyemei Hara Dechei Admon Be'etzel Tzamon Hakim Lanu Ro'im Shiva. And basically, the words are talking about the end of times, when redemption is going to come, and God is going to take out His vengeance on the people that have harmed us throughout all of history, and everything's going to be good. And it's throughout this year, it's been unbelievable to literally see the dominoes falling towards that day at a rapid pace that we never could have dreamed of. You know, more has happened in the last year than has happened in the last when was 73? 1973. How many years is that? 50 years. Yeah, a little over 50 years. And it's unbelievable. And thank God we get to live in these times. So in our Hanukkah, let's sing that together. Chasof.
Chasof Zeroa Kochecha Bekarev Ketz HaYeshua Nikom Nikmat Dam Avadecha Neuma Al-Shah. Chasof Zeroa Kochecha Bekarev Ketz HaYeshua Nikom Nikmat Dam Avadecha Neuma Al-Shah. Ki Al Chalanu HaYeshua Ve'en Ketz Liyemei Hara Dechei Admon צידמון, היוצא לצמון, הקים לנו ישיבה, חשוף זירו כל שכה בקרב גט הישועה לכל נקמה גם עבדך נאומה שם חשוף זרוע ראשך בקרב גט הישועה לכל נקמה גם עבדך נאומה שם כי לנו הישועה וכסליניה דרכי אדמון הימצא צמון הקים לנו רואים שיבה כי לנו הישועה וכסליניה הימצא צלמון, הקים לנו רואים שיבה. Thank you all so much. Around 3 or 4 months before October 7th, I released a song called Aneni. Hey, it's fine. This is an interactive show. That's all good. It's all good. This is an intimate show for a reason. These things are meant to happen. So I released a song called Aneni. The background to this song is something I don't think I've ever talked about publicly, but it's been over a year since then, and things have happened. And now I feel very open talking about the background to the song. I wrote the song on a Shabbat afternoon, and I was on the way back from Mincha. And I realized, I was like, God, I just talked to you, but I wasn't talking to you at all. What I had been going through is, my wife and I were working at a summer camp that summer, in the summer of 2022, and we came back and we realized that my parents were at the beginning of a divorce. And this was from someone who grew up in an incredibly stable home with absolutely no problems at all. It was incredibly hard to deal with, the fact that this is happening. And I basically had like this emotional block. I was just not feeling emotion. I wasn't able to connect to anything for months. Months afterwards. Even until this day, there's still a little bit of a block there. I used to be someone that cries very easily. Now I basically only cry when I watch, highlights of baseball and the World Series, and you see the team jumping. And I guess baseball has a very special place in my heart. For those who don't know, I played baseball for the Israel national team, and that's definitely a big part of who I am. If you ask someone when I was 7 years old, what does Shlomo do? They'd be like, well, he plays baseball, he sings, and he's like, and he likes Hashem. And that's basically the exact same thing today. Thank God, I still love God, still have a connection with Hashem, and I play baseball, and I sing. So not a lot has changed. And so I was leaving Mincha, and I realized, this is a time in my life where, this was still at the very beginning stages. We weren't sure what was going to happen. And this is the time of my life where I have something really to pray for. God help me out here. And I was just talking to you in shul. I was saying the words of Shmoneh Esrei, of Amidah, of Mincha and Shabbat. But I wasn't with you. I wasn't talking to you. So now I'm going to talk to you in my own words. And on the way home, I started saying these words, just trying to pour out my heart to him, to help me in this situation. And
I sang it throughout the entire Shabbat, and Motzei Shabbat. I got onto, I turned on my phone, hit record, sat down by the piano, and actually, I'll play this for you here. I have the original recording from that week. If I find it. I think this is it. When I call, So that's that. That was never play that for anyone, so I'm happy that I was able to play it for you guys. And I released this song right before Yom Kippur as a live concert on my YouTube page. And throughout the year, people said, Shlomo, you have to release a song. So finally, right before the 3 weeks, before Tisha B'Av, I released it onto Spotify. And that was that. And then months later, I found myself by the Lebanon border, terrified. And I realized, like, Shlomo, like, you idiot, you have songs about calling out to God. Like, use your own music to connect right now, right? You have the words. Sing it. So on the second night of the war, we led an ambush on two sides of, there's two mountains, and there's a valley that go down from the Lebanon border to Dishon. The reason that we were in the Moshav called Dishon is because it is right next to Route 90. Route 90 is the route that goes all the way from Metula in the north all the way down to Eilat in the south. And Dishon is right on the edge of the Galil, is built like it looks like a finger. The higher part is called Etzba Galil, the finger of the Galil, and Dishon is right there on the edge. So if they're able to make it down from the Lebanon border, if Hezbollah was able to get to Route 90, they'd be able to cut off the entire Etzba Galil, the entire finger of the Galil from the rest of Israel. That's why we were stationed there. We were prepared. We said, okay, we're like 40 soldiers here, but if we're positioned correctly, even if there are 1,000 soldiers that come down by the valley, we'll have the upper hand and we'll be able to fend them off. So we were there during the night, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting. At some point during the night, it's so funny how things change throughout a year. We're human beings, we get used to things. It's so crazy how we get used to things. So much so, I saw a video which looks really cool, but it's crazy when you think about it. There was a video of soldiers in Ukraine that they were holding a wounded soldier, and they were bringing him towards towards the helicopter, wherever they had to bring him to get him out of there. And there's something explodes literally right in front of them, like a massive fireball, and they don't even flinch. They just continue walking. At first glance, it seems like, oh my gosh, these guys are like, no. But it comes from just being used to things. At the very beginning of the war, there was silence by the Lebanon border, absolute silence. So anytime we heard any small sound, it was like, what was that? What was that? First night, we heard nothing. Second night, so we're there and we're ready for Hezbollah to invade. And all of a sudden, at like around 3 o'clock in the morning, we hear from the Lebanon border. Now, a year later, looking back, that's not how they're going to invade. If there's an invasion from the Lebanon border, there's going to be artillery fire, there's going to be missiles nonstop, and then there's going to be mass shooting, and that's when they're going to come over the border, not just one machine gun shooting. But at the time, you don't think about that. You just think about, oh my gosh, you hear something from the border. It ended up being one of our tanks shooting in, but just shooting from the machine gun, not even a tank. So it was really nothing, but in that moment, it felt like here we go. This is actually happening. You know, there's a movie Jumanji. If you've seen it, there's a scene, and they always told us, like, Hezbollah, they use small vehicles, they use like ATVs, and there's a scene in Jumanji where all of a sudden, like, a missile goes past them and explodes, and they turn around, and then like 10 bikers like come over, like, and then they start shooting at them. And I was like waiting for that to happen, and we're waiting, and nothing happens throughout the night. And then in the morning we all joked about how terrified we were. But we get so used to it. I remember the first time that when they finally brought up artillery, the Totchanim, to the Lebanon border. It was one Shabbat. I was sleeping, and all of a sudden you hear it, and that's them shooting it. That's not the explosion, but it's the loudest thing you'll hear like ever. We've heard many things. The loudest thing that you hear is Totchanim shooting a missile. When it comes out of the cannon, it's so loud. So much like this past, I mean, we'd be by the Lebanon border now, and you get upset at yourself that you jump because you're like, I should be used to this by now. Like every time you're like, it's Totchanim, it's just artillery. We're all good. And then we get used to that, and you're able to sleep through the night. But at the beginning, we were definitely not used to that at all. Where was I going with this at all? I don't even remember. 180. Thank you so much. So that night, I was in this ambush, and throughout that night, I started singing the words and connecting that way. And it's a song that you could connect to whatever you're going through. One of the hardest things you learn is that you think that in a time of tragedy, all other troubles go away. You should be like, this is what we're dealing with, and that's not the case. People are still struggling, and there's people have personal problems, and there are a lot of other problems in the world. So I guess everyone's able to connect to the song in their own way, and just pray together with me. Aneni Hashem b'yom karasi, Aneni Hashem b'mamatim, Aneni Hashem b'kol shavasi, Aneni b'tfilas tachanurim, Aneni Hashem b'yom karasi, Aneni Hashem b'mamatim, Aneni Hashem b'kol shavasi, Aneni b'tfilas tachanurim. When I call out to you, answer me, please. I'm begging of you. I'm down on my knees. Oh, Hashem, Shema, litvilasi, al taster ponecha mimeni. When I call out to you, answer me, please. I'm begging of you. I'm down on my knees. Oh, Hashem, Shema, litvilasi, al taster ponecha mimeni. When I call out to you, answer me, please. I'm begging of you, down on my knees. Oh, Hashem, Shema, litvilasi, al taster ponecha mimeni. When I call out to you, answer me, please. I am begging of you, down on my knees. Oh, Hashem, Shema, litvilasi, al taster ponecha mimeni. Thank you all so much. Let's find the right key. There we The answer to Haneni happens to be my debut single, Kanitcha. You know, we're going through a lot, but we always know God has us. God's with us. Kanitcha is here with you no matter what. So let's do this.
כשאתה פותח את העיניים, אני כאן איתך. כשאתה יוצא לעולם, אני שם. וגם כשלפעמים קצת מבחין, אתה לא מעצמך. כי יש מי שדוחף אותך קדימה, חשוב שתדע. שאני כאן איתך, כאן איתך, אין מה לפחד. כן, אני כאן איתך, כאן איתך, תמיד. ואם אתה מרגיש לבד בעולם, ולא רואה עזרה מאף בן אדם, זכור שאני כאן איתך, כאן איתך, continue, doesn't matter. מסתכל במראה ולא רואה תקווה, שם איתך.
Here we go, back on.
הפנימי שלך אל הנשמה. וגם אם אתה לא מרגיש כאן יחד איתי, אתה עדיין קרוב אליי במחיצתי. כי אולי אני המלך, אבל אני גם אבא שלך. ואני כאן איתך, כאן איתך, אין מה לפחד. Let's see if we'll stay with me, never mind. כן, אני כאן איתך, כאן איתך, תמיד. ואם אתה מרגיש לבד בעולם, ולא רואה עזרה מאף בן אדם, זכור שאני כאן איתך, כאן איתך. Looking for the light, yeah, and I'm singing my song, trying to reflect on who I am and what I've become. Wanna be a song to me, yeah, and I'm trying so hard, I just wanna cry, wanna connect, and I'm gonna keep trying to be close to you to the day I die. And I don't know why it's so hard at times to see that you are there for me, and you're guiding me from behind the scenes to be what I can be. But I'm holding on, 'cause I know you're there. Keep carrying your name, no I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, אני כאן איתך, כאן איתך, ואני לא מפחד. כן, אני כאן איתך, כאן איתך, תמיד. וגם אם לפעמים אני מרגיש לבד, אני איתך, ולא עוזב אותך לאט. זכור שאני כאן איתך, כאן איתך. ואני כאן איתך, כאן איתך, ואני לא מפחד. כן, אני כאן איתך, כאן איתך, תמיד. וגם אם לפעמים אני נופל, אני לא מחזיק חזק, אני לא מוותר. זכור שאני כאן איתך, כאן איתך. Thank you all so much. It's just like in the army. You know, you plan something out, you get to the place, and you have to figure it out on the fly. We went into a place called Chule. Chule is right above a moshav or yeshuv called Margaliot. And when we went, first of all, Margaliot, we moved around so much from the beginning of the war. In 2 months, not including going into Lebanon and out of Lebanon, which we went in and out all the time. But in 2 months, we started off in Kiryat Shmona. You're not going to know the names of the places, just to understand. Every time you have to get all your stuff and go, and you come to the place and it's dirty, you have to clean it, and then you're there and you figure it out, and you get into a routine, and then you have to move again. So we went from Kiryat Shmona up to a base called In Akel. From In Akel, they took us to Margaliot, this Yishuv Margaliot. From Margaliot, they took us back to Kiryat Shmona to get ready to go into Lebanon for the first time. That's when we went into Kfar Kila. And then we went back to Kiryat Shmona after Kfar Kila. From Kfar Kila, we went back to Margaliot, if I'm not mistaken. Back to Margaliot. From Margaliot, myself and a few others on Yom Kippur, which, by the way, weirdest Yom Kippur of my life. First of all, obviously not fasting, but also I had to call someone on Yom Kippur night. It was very weird. And you realize, okay, that's what's needed now. Oved? All right, let's see. Maybe it's heating up.
I think so. I turn off the light.
Okay, beautiful. I appreciate it. Thank you. So good. It's better for me, so I don't have to project. I'm actually able to keep my voice. What was I? Right, and then so we went to a base called what's it called? Itzpe'adi. Itzpe'adi. From Itzpe'adi, I went back to Malgariot. From Malgariot, we went, and then from Malgariot we went to a place called Mizgavam. Mizgavam is a moshav right back to, or yishuv, right next to the border, very close to, on the way up towards Metula, near the Kfarim, near the Arab villages of Misinjbel and Kimri Olesh, places that are just names to you guys. I mean, for me, I know exactly what these places look like. But we moved around so much. And one of the times we went to a place called Chule. Chule, the main reason we went in was just to clear out houses, and we're going to clear out houses, and then let the combat engineers come in and blow it up. Another place we did that was in a place called Misinjbel. Misinjbel, we get these houses, and they told us, okay, you're going to go to this house and this house, right? And you have to get there, and we treat every single house as if they're still terrorists inside. You never know. We saw during the ceasefire in Gaza that in 2 weeks, right? In 2 weeks, the houses that IDF soldiers had already been in, all of a sudden they had terrorists in them again, and they were booby trapped again. So you treat every single house as if they're terrorists inside. So we get to this one house, and I remember, I was the first one around a corner. First we shoot at the house. We're assuming there's no one inside. We don't assume there are people inside, but we treat it as if there are people inside. It's not like the same urgency. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm going to see a terrorist. But you have no idea what to do. Exactly what's going to happen. So we're shooting at the house from the side. Shooting on the grenade launcher. After a year of carrying this massive thing around, I finally got to use it. It was worth it. It was worth carrying this massive gun around. It's different. When you're a machine gunner, you don't go home with the machine gun. When you're in a room with it, you just make sure that you know where it is and you put it on the side. Okay, it's very heavy. When you're in battle, that I'll give it to them. But they don't have to carry it around everywhere. The matol has a nickname in Hebrew. It's called pakal slicha. It's like the slicha gun, because you get on the train and it's this long gun, and you're just like, oh, slicha, 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 because you're knocking into everyone nonstop. It's annoying to walk around with it on a day-to-day basis. It was worth it after a year of carrying this thing around to be able to go in. I shot so much more than everyone else did, so much more. There was one time I went in. I mean, they're 40 millimeter, grenade shells. They're big. I went in. The last time we went in, we were covering for another company that was going to actually do something pretty historic. The last night, we were the last company out of Lebanon for my entire brigade, which was very meaningful for us. But that night, so we were covering for another company that was going in. They were conquering a place called, if I get it correctly, Nebi El Awadi. Nebi El Awadi is a fortress that belonged to the Lebanese army, not Hezbollah Lebanese army. Until then, we weren't touching anything that had to do with the army of Lebanon. We let go. This was the first time that we conquered it because it was a strategic point. We needed it, and so that was something historic that we were a part of. That was very meaningful for me that my unit was part of it, and. So when we went in that night, we were there for a night, and I brought in 35 of these. Usually you'd go in with 10, 15 maybe, and I brought in 35. I was like, I'm going all out. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun finally getting to shoot. So we're shooting at this house, and then we turn the corner. Right, we turn the corner, expecting I don't know what's gonna be in the corner. We turn. There's no wall. There's just absolutely no wall. The wall was blown off, and we're just like, and Kir, there's no wall, and you don't know
usually when you're opening a house, when you know where you're supposed to, you know where the areas that are that potential terrorists can be. You can see, okay, there's a couch there. I make sure that I shoot at the couch. When you have nothing there, you're just like, what do I do now? So just like, guys, there's no wall. There's no wall. So just like there, you have to figure out on the fly, okay, there's no wall, now what do I do? I have to make sure that I'm not standing out in the open, so I'll backtrack a little bit to the corner, make sure everything's okay, and then go in. So same thing here, you figure it out on the fly. So you guys now know how to be soldiers. We can get all you guys, All right. Speaking of the soldiers, every time I perform, and it's basically been, it was funny, this past Shabbat, they said, you know the tefillah for the Chayalim? I was like, yes, I've done. Today, Drew asked me, do you know it by heart? I went to Aiden's basketball game. Raise your hand. Everyone clap for him. He had 2 awesome steals in the middle of the game. Back-to-back possessions with steals. So Drew asked me, do you know the prayer by heart? I was like, yeah, I know it by heart. I've been every single wedding I've done since the beginning of the war. Every time I go to perform, I sing it, and I really feel, every time that I'm out, I really feel it a lot more than beforehand. Before I went back to, I've been a reservist for years, but you don't really feel the same connection to the battlefield as you do now, and you realize every time you go home, there are still chayalim there. When we're praying for rain now, you realize there are chayalim out in the rain, and you know what it feels like to be out in the rain as a chayal. So every time I go home, I'm constantly thinking about my cousins that are in the army. My brother-in-law was in the army, in and out. It was funny. I went into Lebanon, and then I came out. So he went in, he came out, I went in, and then I came out, and he went in. And it was kind of like a back and forth. And I was like, dude, we got to be in there together. We said as a joke, I want to see you bechul. I want to see you outside of Israel. Like on a trip somewhere. So that was the code word. We would say we're stamping our passport. We're going to a different country. So there's still chayalim out there. So I would love to sing the tefillah for the chayalim together with you guys. Water. One thing I learned in music school is don't be afraid to drink. In the middle of a performance, it's all good. It's very good for your voice. So let's drink some water. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב ויברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה להציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם, ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם, ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון, וקוים בהם הכתוב כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם עם אויביכם להושיע אתכם ונאמר ישראל חי, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל, עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל, עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי, עוד אבינו, עוד אבינו, עוד אבינו 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 חי, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל חי, עוד אבינו, עוד אבינו, עוד אבינו חי, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל חי, עוד אבינו, עוד אבינו, עוד אבינו חי, עם ישראל, עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל, עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל, עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל, עם ישראל, עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי. אם לא נשכח תמיד להיות מיוחדים, עם ישראל חי. בעליות בירידות, גם בשעות הכי קשות, הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו, אז מי יכול עלינו? תהיה לנו עוד מדינה, תעש שלום בינינו, שמור על ילדינו, לא עבדה האמונה. עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל חי, השם יתברך, תמיד אוהב אותי ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב. השם יתברך, תמיד אוהב אותי ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב, ויהיה לי עוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב, עוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב, ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב. השם יתברך, תמיד אוהב אותי ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב. השם יתברך, תמיד אוהב אותי ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב, ויהיה לי עוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב, עוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב, ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב. מי שמאמין לא מפחד, את האמונה לאמן, ולנו יש את מלך העולם, הוא שומר אותנו מכולם. מי שמאמין לא מפחד, את האמונה לאמן, ולנו יש את מלך העולם, והוא שומר אותנו מכולם. אנחנו מאמינים ונאמינים, ואין לנו אמין להישאר, אלא אבינו שבשמיים. אנחנו מאמינים ומאמינים, ואין לנו אמין להישאר, אלא אבינו שבשמיים. השם מלך, השם מלך, השם ימלוך לעולם ועד. השם מלך, השם מלך, השם ימלוך לעולם ועד. הלל השם אלוקים ואגדנו בתודה, הלל השם אלוקים ואגדנו
by his finding we know we win in a war, we won't let him go. Even if the world don't turn, the fire we're born, the H Tamid, a korban, so sacrifice, yeah, put H Tamid, we clapping now, screaming loud, we're gonna take the ground, bring it back straight to the king, now we found our hope, yeah. Pick up a mitzvah, lead on the head, Olam haba, Olam haseh, living is great where we can say, praise Hashem, his name is great, Hashem Elef, Hashem Alef, Hashem Yidro, Le'olam vayeh, Hashem Elef, Hashem Alef, Hashem Yidro, Le'olam vayeh, Ve'od yoter tov, 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 ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב. Again, ועוד יותר טוב, 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 ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב. Thank you guys so much. I want to end off with, first of all, and before we end off, let's backtrack. Any questions? There's sometimes you go through so much, and you think you're touching on all the points, and all of a sudden someone asks you a question, and you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Are there any questions about the entire time this past year? I would love to answer them. How do you describe what?
I don't think there are words to describe what you've been through.
So I think the hardest thing, we've talked about this a lot, this every time, this is a new initiative that the Army started. It's something unbelievable, and hopefully, it spreads to other armies throughout the world. They do a debriefing after deployment like this, where they have first of all, it's a full day of massages and ice baths, and really just giving us and seeing orthopedists and chiropractors. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. But then we did a group therapy session of our entire unit together. The first time we did it, it was kind of we talked about the hardships, but it wasn't the same. This time after going into Lebanon, we all opened up very, very differently. It was a completely different experience of something and it was very, very good that we did this. The biggest reason is because many of the guys that I'm in with are married. As reservists, you go on with your life, and it's a very different situation than when you're in active service. So much so, to put things a little bit into perspective, there was one night towards the beginning of the war where we, jokingly, but we really had this conversation. Obviously, there's a little bit of truth to most jokes, but we had this conversation jokingly of if a grenade is thrown, what should be the order of guys that should jump on it based on what they're up to in life. So it was, so it passed the time. So guys that were married, wait, I have a wife at home. If something happens to me, then she's alone. But someone else is wait, but if I jump on it, then I'm never going to get married. So you should jump on it because you already got to get married. Guys, if you have kids versus not having kids, you got to have kids. I didn't have to. Yeah, but I have to take care of those kids. There was a guy who was an atheist with us, and he's like, yeah, you guys are way closer to God than I am. I have a lot more to go, so you guys are already good. I need more time in this earth. It was that just puts things a little bit into perspective. And the one thing that we talked about all together was how hard it was for us, it was so hard for us, how hard it was for our families. That is hands down the hardest part of this entire war. Is how hard it is for my wife, that she's alone with the kids and she doesn't have her husband there, and how hard it is for my kids. El Chai, the first time I went I went in, he was 2 years old. And the first time I got home, I was able to, for the first time, I really saw what it means to have a father present after not having a father present. He would come into our bed and cuddle, which is normal, but usually he would sit next to me and I would kind of cuddle up to him. And the first night that I was home, he laid on top of me and put his arms around my neck. And it was just this feeling of, wow, I missed him. But
that was something very, very impactful. But this time when I came home, he was already 3. He's talking now full sentences, and I picked him up from daycare, and he says in Hebrew, Abba babayit, Abba babayit, Abba's home, Abba's home, Abba's home. And hearing that was, realizing that he's now at the age where he's able to feel when I'm not home, and how hard it is for Batsheva, my wife, when I'm not there. It would be a very different situation if I was a single guy. I know, myself, I get very into being a chayal. This past time I barely posted at all. Not because I was this was a time I was very focused, I was very in it, and I was really like Shlomo Lipman, the chayal, and if it wasn't for the fact that I had to go home to a family, I would have let's continue, let's do this. I was so into it, so much so that at the beginning it was very hard for me because, I had a newborn at home, and I knew how hard it was for my wife. But as we got used to it, it got easier and easier. I was sick for a little bit. Once I got better, I was so dialed in, so much so that when we weren't in Lebanon, I was going out of my mind. I was like, we need to do something. I would walk up and downstairs as if I was clearing out houses. I started watching a TV show called SEAL Team, just to be able to connect while I wasn't actually on the battlefield. I needed to be able to feel something. It happened to be that SEAL Team really helped me also be able to deal with going home, because you see how much family issues the guys have because they're away so much. And I was like, you know what? It's a good thing that I'm going home, because I want to be able to have a regular relationship with my wife. But that is hands down the hardest part, is how hard it is for the families and the wives of soldiers are hands down the real heroes in this war. It's obviously hard to put yourself in harm's way, but it's way harder to hold down a home when your husband is away. In the musical Hamilton, George Washington says to him, that's where I learned my history from, because I'm 27, like the rest of my generation. No, but he says, as Hamilton says, I'm willing to die for America, and George Washington says to him, dying is easy, living is harder. It's a lot harder to have to live with the consequence. You put yourself in harm's way, that's obviously dangerous and scary, but having to live without your husband home, that is definitely the hard part. And I want to say thank you to this synagogue. First of all, thank you for having this event here. It means a lot to me, so I appreciate it. But also, there was a donation given to my entire platoon from the synagogue to be able to buy, because we got ourselves shirts at the end of our deployment that said Vaishaber Hashem et Arzei Levanon, a pasuk from Tefillah. It talks about God destroying the Arazim, the strong oak trees of Lebanon, and that was and it says, and then in Hebrew Ad Hanitzachon, until victory, in Arabic below it. That's what we got for ourselves, and what we got for with this donation for our spouses and for our kids were shirts that for the spouses, it was a shirt at the back that said Gamani Timanti, I was also on deployment, and for the kids it said Gamani Guyasti, I was also drafted. They're really the heroes. They're the ones that are able to say yes, you can go, and there are definitely moments that they felt like, no, you can't go now, but at the end of the day, the fact that they let us go and protect the state of Israel, obviously we have to do it. It's something we have to do, but it's really something unbelievable. So how dealing with it, what was it like? That's the hardest part. Nonstop is thinking about how hard it is for even like now I'm away from home, but my wife knows, okay, I'm going to be home on Wednesday. Like she knows like that, I'm going to be home. So that's definitely the hardest part for sure. Of course. All right, we'll finish off with 2 songs. One, I want to call up these 2 boys because they wanted to sing it with me. We'll sing V'hisha Amda together. All right, you ready? V'hisha Amda lavoteinu, V'hisha Amda lavoteinu v'lanu. שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, עמד עלינו לכלותנו, והיא
שעמד לאבותינו ולנו שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו עמד עלינו לכלותנו והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מאדם והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מאדם נאי 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 העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה המקום ירחם עליהם יוציאם מצרה לרווחה ומעפל על יורה ומשעבוד בגלה ובזמן קריב המקום ירחם עליהם יוציאם מצרה לרווחה ומעפל על יורה ומשעבוד בגאולה בגלה ובזמן קריב. Thank you guys so much. Ethan and Aiden. Before we go, I would love to, last song, sing together with you guys at Tikva. So please stand up together with me. Korot balevav be'ima nefesh yehudi hominya ulfatem mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia od lo avda tikvateinu התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון ירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים. Thank you all so much. It is sometimes it's a little bit hard to say this, but it definitely is the truth. My goal at the end of the day is to make it as my dream is to be the number one the number one name in Jewish music, and the only way to be, and that's just part of the dream. The dream is to be able to connect
and touch hearts and bring Am Yisrael together. And I'm in a very special place as an American Israeli that I basically know both worlds, and I'm trying to connect everyone together. And the only way for me to be able to do that is with your help. Word to mouth on social media. My social media is Shlomo Lipman Music across all platforms. And I would love it if you can join me on this journey that Shlomo, that myself, Shlomo, has started over the past few years. Bezrat Hashem, we're only going to go out from here. V'rak yeh od yoter tov ve'od yoter tov. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. Od yoter tov ve'od yoter tov ve'od yoter tov ve'od yoter tov od yoter tov ve'od yoter tov ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב יהיה לי עוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב עוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב. Thank you guys so much. Have an amazing, amazing night. Have a great Hanukkah.